So good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to the Cipher webinar on Cipher Certified, Build Your Own View of the Technology Landscape. I'm Francesca Lavoie, I'm Head of Marketing here at Cipher, and we have a great panel of Cipher experts who are going to talk us through how you can build your view of the technology landscape with Cipher Certified. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Stuart, can we kick off with you? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, no, thanks, Francesca. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Stuart Hogg. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at Cipher, and I'm not sure I would call myself an expert, but what I would say is I've spent a huge amount of time over the course of the last 3 and a bit years working at Cipher with our customers, and this concept of Cipher Certified has been a really exciting development for us over the last 18 months, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of those thoughts and experiences with you today. Sebastian.
Hi everyone, my name is Sebastian Müller-Borges. I'm part of the solutions team where I help clients make most out of Cipher and out of the data, but I also head up the Cipher Certified program, where we really turn what we've done internally, as in training everyone up to use the classifier builder as well as possible, turn that outward, now training clients to learn how to build classifiers with really high standards and quality. Sarah.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Newton. So I am head of our North American sales team here at Cipher. So hopefully today I can give you all a really good understanding of why some of our clients opted to move ahead with Cipher Certified, how they've benefited from it, and answer any questions you might have around those use cases, or even what it might be like to bring this kind of machine learning capability in-house at your own company.
Great, thank you guys, and you've done a good job of introducing the topic that we're going to talk about today. But maybe just to take a step back, at Cipher, we provide our clients with the ability to make strategic decisions around their patent portfolios. So for example, how can you optimize your portfolio to protect against risk, or how can you better understand your competitors or any new entrants that might be entering into a new technology area, for example. Now, to do this, our clients need to have patent data that's ordered, structured, and classified by their view of the technology area. So that's what we're really talking about, is how can you get your view of the technology area? So what we're going to talk about today is why you could potentially use Cipher Certified to do that, to get your view of the technology area. So we're going to talk about why you might want to do this, what benefits you can get from this. How does it actually work? So how does Cipher Certified actually work? And then we'd like to answer any of your questions. But before we go into that, what are you actually building? You're going to be building classifiers. Now, what are classifiers? So I think we're going to just take a little bit of a step back and ask Sebastian to maybe talk us through what is a classifier. Seb.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Francesca. So classifiers really are Cipher developed supervised machine learning algorithm that help you identify patterns that are relevant for technology that you've defined. So as I said, it's supervised machine learning, and therefore you as the user or the classifier builder are at the center of defining what's relevant for you and not. So you see on this figure here on top, you as a user decide what the scope is. Through our training interface or our user interface, you build up a training set. So you find positive examples, so good examples of what you want within your scope, negative examples, which are find examples of patterns that are not relevant to you or outside of your scope. And through that training set, our machine learning algorithm is trained and therefore then has the ability to recognize patterns that are relevant or not. You see on the left-hand side, there's this kind of arrow that goes back to the training interface. And that is really the iterative nature of classifier building, where you as the user then review the results and you assess if the results are good. If they're good, well, then that's great. And you have a classifier that has the ability to identify the patterns that are relevant to you. If not, then you keep iterating and refining the classifier by providing more patterns into that training set. The end result is really a classifier that you can then run against organization reports, against landscapes, and identify all patterns that are relevant for the technology you've defined.
Great, thank you, Sebastian. So we've got an overview of what classifiers are. I'd now like us to talk about why would you want to build your own? Traditionally, Cipher have always built classifiers for our clients, and that's always been the way that we've done things. So Stuart, why have we decided to make this change?
Yeah, thanks, Frankie. I think, you know, for me, it sort of started maybe about 18 months or so ago. I was running a fairly typical sales process at Cipher with a large European patent company. And we've gone through a normal sales process with them. We'd identified their challenge, which was all around mapping third parties' portfolios and benchmarking their position to essentially pinpoint areas of weakness or areas of difference to help them with their understanding of competitors and their filing strategy. And they'd become a little weary, I guess, of doing this by hand. It'd become very challenging due to the numerous technologies and the numerous companies across those technologies to cover and to track. So it was becoming a little inefficient, unsustainable, as it were. And the client actually said to me, it wasn't any fun anymore for anybody, and you can probably imagine why. We also sort of took them through the experience of what it's like to build the classifiers with Cipher and the outcome of that, and what that looks like in the platform, all the typical things you would expect us to do in a sales process. And I've got to say, I was really surprised when I'd put my proposal together and I got a no back. And I was like, okay, what did I miss? What did I get wrong in this process? I was pretty convinced that this was going to go towards a relationship together with this organization. So obviously, what did I do? I spoke to the client. I said, well, tell me, what did I miss? What did I get wrong? And I said, you know, and it didn't come down to price. It didn't come down to because we might be changing the way things were operating. They were open to that, and it didn't come down to performance of service, if you like. It came down to something different, and that difference was control. They wanted to have full control over how the classification or how the classifiers were built, how that taxonomy was developed, and they didn't want to rely solely on us, or in fact, the way they described it, they wanted us to rely solely on anybody to do that. They wanted to be able to do it in-house. They wanted to be able to directly put their DNA into their classifiers. So at this stage, this is not something that we had done at scale. We didn't have a program around it, but I, in my role, I have to listen to what our customers, both current and future, are saying. And I took this back to the team to say, listen, guys, I think we have to potentially change. This is a legitimate reason to not working with Cipher, but it's something that we theory could teach. The solutions team are teaching people who come into our business how to build classifiers all the time. There's no reason we can't teach our clients how to do this. And really, that was the changing moment for us. This is why we recognized that was a legitimate reason to say no. But if we could overcome that hurdle, then the client agreed that they would go forward, and that's what we did. And yes, we had to put a little bit of time and effort into thinking about what that program of training would be, because it would be remote. We were in the pandemic. We had to do this. Couldn't sit with them together. Obviously, that's changed a little bit now, but back then you couldn't. And we had to think about how our interface would be used by a non-Cipher person, i.e. a customer, and how they'd be able to interact with that. And we had to maybe productize that a little bit better for them. But once we achieved these things, this particular European client gave us the go ahead, and we've established a great working relationship with them now, with them having full control over the classification they want to make. So for me, that was the big changing point for us as an organization, and to launch this product, or to launch this way of working with Cipher, as it were.
Thanks, Stuart. Sarah, you working with a number of Cipher certified clients at the moment. Is control the main reason why they decided to adopt Cipher certified?
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting since that first kind of client came on board 18 months ago, as Stu was outlining. I think the reasons why certain clients opt for Cipher certified are quite varied, but I think the most consistent ones obviously do include that kind of control factor. Also, I think there's something around agility. So one of my clients is an analytics and insights division within a wider company supporting multiple business units in-house. So for them, they need to be able to respond really rapidly to various different questions about technology areas or areas of interest that might be outside of what that company does as a core offering. And they may need to pivot between building a certain number of classifiers at one point and then answering something completely separate at the same time. So that kind of agility, having that control over, you know, delivery and when they kind of build and finalize classifiers is really important for them. I also think a lot of our clients really want to kind of upskill their own teams as well. So obviously at Cipher, we're working with, you know, leaders in all of the industries that they sit within. And so typically they want their own teams to have access to leading technology and software that's going to enable them to do their jobs efficiently and, you know, with a really high level of insights. So bringing machine learning in-house, upskilling their own teams in this kind of capability is also really interesting for them. So that's something that a lot of our clients have really benefited from. It's kind of a double win. They've got great insights and their team are learning something new and something that's actually of material benefit for their own career development as well, which has been really nice to see. I think for some clients as well, no matter how many NDAs and reassurances you have, and no matter how robust the Cipher processes and security systems are, just prefer to keep all of that kind of interest in different technology areas completely private. So with Cipher certified, because there's no interaction with the solutions team bar, you know, any support or questions, they know that kind of everything they're building is completely confidential. So that is a reason that certain clients really, you know, enjoy this particular option as well. And then I guess another factor that I've seen kind of coming in, particularly more recently, is the ability to maybe do both with Cipher. So to learn how to do machine learning classification in-house using Cipher certified, but also to have that comfort and structure of also having us do the building for them via that more traditional kind of Cipher license and model. So one particular client has asked us to kind of develop their core taxonomy from the Cipher side, so doing the machine learning classification for them. And then at the same time, we're training them to do the Cipher certified version so that as their kind of company asks them to look at new areas or they want to sort of alter classifiers moving forward, they've got that capability as well. So they like that they can kind of have both depending on scheduling or what they're looking at or what they know really well or what they know less well.
So that sounds good that you can actually have a bit of a mix and match approach. Seb, what's been your experience with customers who build their own but also have us build classifiers for them?
Yeah, I agree with what Sarah just said. There's no clear rule that once we train you to build classifiers that you have to build them all by yourselves. One client I worked with, they have a pretty small team. One of their team members learned how to build classifiers with us and started building their own. Soon realized or made use of those initial classifiers and realized that they wanted to build out more. I think about 15 or so classifiers. Which was just beyond the capacity they had, and of course then approached us and said, "Hey, can you build these classifiers for us?" And we're doing that, and we did that actually. So we're building 15 classifiers for them, and it's quite interesting working then or having that relationship. Really, the benefits of having gone through this Cipher certified program and understanding the nuance of classifier building also really made this process of us building for them quite rich, really understanding well what the scope nodes require. Of course, this is an essential part, and we do that with other clients as well. But the benefits of Cipher certified is not just knowing how to build yourself, but also knowing exactly what we need when you task us to build for you.
Great. Well, thank you all. I think we might have an opportunity just to cover off what we think are the benefits of why you might want to think about the Cipher certified approach. So I think we've talked quite a bit about control, about our clients feeling like they can be in control of the process. Sarah talked about the agility around being able to respond quickly to requests within the business, and obviously that desire by some people to have what they're working on is really private and only they know what's going on. The fact that also, I guess, you can scale your classifiers as well, that you can do that obviously by building your own in-house, but as Seb was mentioned, we can build them for you as well. So there's definitely sort of options there that allow the whole process to be scalable. And I think, Sarah, you mentioned as well the fact that, you know, sometimes you might be wanting to look at something that's completely out of your business scope, or a new technology that your business doesn't know much about. But again, the Cipher certified approach allows you to do that. Cipher as well can help you do that by building them. And then the final point on there, I think, is about building that capability. I think we've definitely touched on that, but I think that's something that, you know, for the organization and for the individual is crucial. And Stuart, I guess, has that been something that's come out with the clients you've been working with around the capability that you're building in-house?
Yeah, it has. I think sort of a slightly different benefit, if you like, to think about, but just enabling, there's lots of ML, AI, whatever you want to call it, in businesses today, but actually bringing that to the legal department, the patent department, however teams are structured, and empowering people to be able to use that technology and to be able to turn around and say, look, we've got this in-house, we've got this capability, we can now do this. Okay, the organization that hasn't necessarily built the technology, we've done that, but the organization now can utilize that technology because we've trained the individuals to be able to do that. I think that's a benefit in terms of the efficiencies, the different approach it takes, all the things you guys have already talked about. But it was also really heartening to hear just the enthusiasm from the individuals about learning a new skill, a different way of analyzing a landscape, or developing a landscape, or utilizing patent data and structuring it, and having that new skill on their CV, their resume, came with, you know, I want to say sort of such delight from some of these individuals that we've worked with over the course of the last 12-18 months. Was great to see. It's also really heartwarming for us as an organization to see that not only is our product supporting companies make better decisions in relation to their portfolios and their overall patent strategy, but also to impact individuals and their careers and their own capabilities. I think is, as I say, is equally as gratifying.
Great. Well, thank you all for going through that. I think that's given us some good insight into why organizations might consider Cipher certified. I think now it'd be great to pass over to Seb to talk around the how. So you talked about the program of Cipher certified. Maybe you can give us a bit more information around that, Seb, and take us through what the platform looks like as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me move to that next slide. So here we see the classifier building process. Before I jump into this, I quickly want to talk about the program. So how we usually teach anyone to build classifiers. So usually we split this into 6 sessions, which take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. The first session really is designed to teach you all the fundamentals, everything we've learned over the last 6 years of classifier building and building the best classifiers possible. The second and third sessions focus on using a practical example, us really building a classifier, showing you how the process works. And then the last 3 sessions kind of hand over that steering wheel to you, and you drive and build a classifier. And we help you through the things that are going well, but also through the challenges you're finding through the classifier building. So that is the program that is designed. Of course, after that, it's not like we disappear. We have a lot of sessions with people we train, follow-up sessions, where we discuss just things they found, troubleshooting, just giving more tips and tricks on classifier building. So there's a continuous road to improvement on classifier building. With that being said, on screen now you see how we kind of broadly defined from a high level of the classifier building process. We've divided this into 4 stages. The first one really focuses on defining the technology. So here you understand what concepts you want to include and exclude from the scope. And we really urge people that are building classifier to break their technology down into concepts and subclasses to understand really all the aspects of the technology that fall within scope. So that is followed by building up an initial training set. Earlier, you remember I talked about building training sets for classifiers. Now here we really make use of our definitions, and we add some patent examples through using Boolean searching or other means. We add some of these patent family examples to our training set. We do not have to be exhaustive in this step. It's really this interplay between the human and, of course, the machine learning algorithm that improves the results throughout the building process. But this works as a foundation for then keeping on developing the classifier. So the third step here is to broaden that training set. So we use features that we have in our classifier builder interface, such as suggestions with similar pattern families. And I'll show you that in a minute or so when we dive into the tool. We use different features that surface new terminology, new concepts or application areas to the users. So you can find kind of blind spots that you had or areas that you just didn't consider before. So that's really great. If you really want to focus, then you can go back into the Boolean search and find some more examples. But here we really focus on broadening up the training set and finding more patterns that are relevant. And finally, the last step is evaluating the classifier. So now you have a classifier that works quite well. You want to test how does it work, what patterns does it bring up from different organizations or the landscape overall, to just make sure that the performance is on par as what you want it to be, and making sure that you're not missing patterns. Just to address this point, because classifier building is somewhat different from traditional Boolean searching, I want to focus on this point for a minute here. So Boolean searching really is a really precise and kind of complex task. You have to build long Boolean search strings with a lot of terminology that you include and exclude. It really forces the user to think critically about subject matter, which is a great thing, and it organizes the thought, but it has a lot of complexity in it. Because you need to know all the terminology and all the concepts, Boolean searches by definition, you see what you enter into your search string, you may exclude relevant documents from the results. How on this kind of chart here on the side, how we think about it is the Boolean search is a really gradual performance improvement by adding and removing and refining the search criteria. So you see that on the right-hand side here, like a line that increases over time. Now, classifier building, in contrast, really is this classical machine learning approach. The early classification, when you have a very small training set, gives you quite poor results. But through the process and pushing through this, you see really quick improvements in the quality of the results as the training set grows. So we see an increase on increase in the slope of quality of results. So very fast, you get much better results. Once you reach a much better place with the classifier, the performance is quite well. You see the slowing down, so the marginal returns from the building decrease a bit later. And at that stage, you really focus on fine-tuning and refining the borderline areas, making sure that what is captured within the results is really the positives, and what falls outside of the results are really the patterns you consider not relevant. But enough about these differences. Let's jump into the tool. Let me show you. So what you see on the screen here is our classifier builder. So on the left-hand side here, you see different tabs to navigate through those different functions in the classifier builder. Currently we're in the scope feature here. Of course, you have the name of the classifier. You have a description where you cover all the things that fall inside, but also outside of the scope. Below that, you see notes that help you really further break this description down, these scope notes down, and take more extensive notes that just help you in the classifier building process. On the right-hand side, you see our highlighting feature, because this is to help us identify keywords and sentences. It's much easier when you review the pattern families that you want to add to the classifier. Now, the next feature here is the pattern upload. Here you can use pattern numbers or pattern family kind of Cipher IDs to quickly upload them into the training set to build the classifier. Next to it, we see the Boolean search. Here you type in Boolean searches. Again, I talked about this in the initial training set building stage, where you look for pattern families of the different concepts and you add them to the training set. Let me just click this one from my history. Here you see a number of pattern families that read onto the search query, and you see that 2 of these actually already are in the training set. So you see them highlighted in green as being marked as positives. If they were negatives, you can see them marked as red, kind of in contrast to this. So the list view is one way of looking at these pattern families, but we also have another view that is this kind of card view that allows you to read the title, part of the abstract, of course, priority year, and the owner of the pattern family, as well as CPC codes and some other information. But if you want more information here, you drill down into that pattern family by clicking on that pattern family ID, and you see the whole document. Here you get a lot more data points, and of course the highlights we talked about. And here you can decide if it's positive or negative. So here you also see the scores that are attached to these pattern families. So the classifier gives each pattern family a score from 1 to 0. 1 is a very good, a very relevant pattern family. 0 is completely unrelated. In the middle, you have that cutoff point that is 0.5. So everything above 0.5 we consider, or the classifier considers, a relevant pattern. Everything below it considers an unrelated pattern. And we usually think in terms of those. So when we do the Boolean searching, of course, we can add this as positive or negative. Of course, ignores is something that you can also choose. These are borderline cases pattern families that some aspects of this read onto the positives, some of it onto the negatives. The next features are really focusing on this broadening of the training set and leveraging the machine learning capabilities here. So in similar families, we can type in pattern families, maybe a pattern family you found that's quite different from the others that you already have in the training set, and you want to find more of these pattern families. So you can copy and paste one or multiple pattern families, or text if you want. So you can also, from academic literature, copy a paragraph into this and find pattern families that use similar terminology to this. So if you search, you get a list of pattern families that are related or that are similar to the pattern family we were looking at. So here, this is quite a powerful feature that really helps you in building out the training set and identifying new patterns. And so does the suggestion tab. So if we go to suggestions now, and I go into the list view again, suggestions are provided based on different data points. And you can see that here on the left-hand side. So you see the top one is based on similar phrases to our positive text. You see similar citations or similar CPC sets. And in the suggestions, you also get a range of different scores. You get patterns from really high scoring to low scoring. This feature is a really great feedback loop to basically question you, hey, what about these patterns? They have some similarities to our training set, to our positive training set. Do we consider these also positives? This usually brings up a lot of new terminology or new application areas or concepts that just weren't considered before. And because it is that range of different scores, it allows us also to find patterns that would fall outside of the scope. So make sure that we cover everything. Cipher really, given that you see those scores, the classifier builder gives you full transparency and allows you to really see also what you're missing in terms of the results. So you can make sure that you cover everything you want to cover. The classifier recognizes everything you want to cover in that classifier. Finally, we have the evaluation tab. Here, once the classifier is performing quite well, you run it against different data sets. You can run it against random pattern families, and we usually do this to uncover some noise that has still snuck into the results. But you can also run it against organizations or landscapes. And this is, of course, to see if you're capturing everything within certain portfolios. Of course, to interrogate a landscape to see if the top owners are in line with what you were thinking. Some organizations stand out. You can drill down into looking at those portfolios and making sure that these are actually relevant hits. And through all of these features, you really improve the classified performance and reach a stage where you're happy with the performance and where you think the performance is up to the job of identifying all the relevant patterns. Of course, also you can go into your training set. So all the pattern families you've marked up, you see here. So 60 positives in this case, 50 negatives. We go into the whole training set and you see all of your pattern families. You can have another look at the ones you've added as positives and negatives. Maybe look at the low scoring ones and make sure these are really, really positives. And you didn't accidentally add some of these. So of course, this is a strategy also to look at. Maybe you had some scope drift, so you want to make sure that everything in your training set is really meeting the criteria you set out for your classifier. So that's quite important. Then of course, you can build the classifier. You need to rebuild it regularly to incorporate the newly added pattern families and the data points that come with it into the classifier. And you can do that here. At the bottom, you see a strength metric. So this gives you some indication, some guideline as to how the classifier is performing. But of course, all the other features and the workflow that I just walked you through is as important in assessing the quality and performance of that classifier. And of course, after we finished building a classifier, then how does the end product look? Is a Cipher report. So you can run any report on one or multiple classifiers and create any of the Cipher reports, of course, with all the different charts to interrogate the data. So in this instance, I'll show you just one chart, which is this one. I created a landscape with, of course, the classifier I was showing you, which was the voice recognition classifier, but also including some other classifiers that are related in the biometric authentication space. I ran this against a number of tech companies, but also payment companies and banks to show an overview of all these organizations' portfolios and on which technologies they're focusing. So this gives us a really great insights and the ability to see where some of these organizations focus over others and see the overall portfolios broken down into all of these classifiers. So with the classified builder, you absolutely get the opportunity and the skills to build out taxonomies such as this that meet your internal criteria, that have your internal structure and taxonomy.
Well, thank you, Seb, for taking us through that. That's great to see the interface and how Cipher Certified can work. And I actually feel like I don't have to be a super duper expert in anything to do with Boolean or anything like that to be able to learn to use that. So so thank you very much for taking us through that. Hopefully everyone's got a good view of how the platform works. We have had a lot of questions coming in from the audience, so do keep them coming, and thank you very much for typing in your questions. So we'll maybe get started on some of those and see how many we can get through within the time. So there's one question which has come out around, is Cipher certified only for organizations that have very complex technology spaces that they operate in? I think the answer is probably no, but Sarah, maybe you can talk us through some of the customers who you have. Are they in complicated technology spaces? Is it very niche, or where do they operate?
So yeah, there's no specific kind of level of granularity or complexity that means that Cipher certified is a better or worse option. The process by which you build the classifier is always going to be the same anyway. It's just, you know, slightly different ways of going about it if it's extremely broad and quite fuzzy, or if it's extremely granular and highly technical. But no, Cipher certified can be applied to any company or any kind of technology portfolio that a business might have. I think the really nice thing about it is that because it's kind of bringing that skill set in-house, it does mean that you can draw upon that expertise more easily as well, though. So if you do happen to work in a really complex technical area and you guys already have the expertise in that environment, and you know the patents really well and you know the competitors really well, then it potentially will be a really easy, successful way for you to be able to build classifiers. But there's no preference either way.
We have had another question come in around, you know, how sort of granular and how niche can you go in terms of looking at a technology area when you're building a classifier? Maybe you can talk a little bit more about, you know, how much can you dig?
Yeah, so it can go from really niche, one technology, really looking in depth at one application area. So you could say, I only want LiDAR sensors that apply to the automotive industry, as an example. Or you can go really broad to other products or business units even. We've done that where you build classifiers that cover a range of products, a range of technologies. And the goal with those classifiers usually is quite different from the narrow ones. With those, you really want to high-level analysis, comparing one organization, probably your organization, against some of your closest competitors, and see where the focuses of those whole portfolios lie. Whereas if you look at the narrow classifiers, you really probably want to look at the landscapes and understand who's active in that space and understand the technology quite well.
Great, thank you, Seb. We've had another question. I think this is people trying to understand a little bit more about how you could maybe implement Cipher certified. So do you need to have a big team of people who can take this on board and learn this? You know, what happens if you are quite a small patent team? Stuart, I don't know if you maybe want to talk to us about some of the sizes of the groups within the clients that we work with.
I think the impact is the more people that can use it, the more you are able to build. Probably the quicker you're able to build it. There's only an infinite amount of time in the day, of course, for folks to do this, and therefore we've got to be realistic about what one human being is able to do and how much time they're able to commit. I'm sure they've got other commitments, so there is that factor to consider. But I don't think you need to have a large team necessarily to be a Cipher certified customer. But on the flip side, I don't think it matters if you have one human being that you can dedicate to the cause, because again, I think that person can be highly efficient by learning the process and building out and utilizing the ML.
Great, and I think just leading on from that, we've had another question around, you know, do you need to be an expert in Boolean, or do you need to have a data science background to be able to take on Cipher certified? I mean, Seb, maybe you can kick us off on that one.
Not at all. So we've had really a range of different backgrounds being enrolled in the Cipher certified world. very technical people that have done Boolean searching and pattern searching for over a decade, people like that, but also people that are quite new to IP. And I think, especially for those people, it's a good way in because of all the assistance and all the features that the classifier builder gives you. It's a quite nicely guided process in building, and it allows you to possibly not know all the terminology or not know the most complex way of building Boolean searches, but still create great results through the classifier training and end up with really high quality classifiers.
Great. I think we've probably got time for one last question, which will hopefully be a quick one. Somebody's asking, so what's the Cipher business model around getting Cipher certified? If somebody's interested, how would they, what would the sort of proposal look like from Cipher? I don't know, Stuart, maybe you could kick us off.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. I mean, I think the way that we were approached this commercially is to look at the number of individuals that we're going to support that are going to have these sort of, let's call them special seats, these certified seats, where they're going to go through an L&D training program with Sebastian and the team. So that's the basic framework how we think about it. And some customers have started with just one or two people and then built as you go forward, so you can build on it. Some have kind of known that they want to have wider access, and it's been sort of built off of that front alongside sort of our sort of typical kind of platform access fee. So that's how we would approach it, listing customers. And again, sometimes we do the hybrid model, which I think has been mentioned on the call, where we've gone, well, I need a couple of individuals to be able to build and to explore and to have that agility and to have that, it might be the privacy or the competency stuff that we've talked about. I want them to have that. At the same time, I know I have this fairly known or static technology taxonomy. Our business is not walking away from any of that, and therefore would like the Cipher team to build that for us, please. So we might do that, and then the customer may go on to have the maybe explore a bit more new areas or disruptive areas and understand that space using the Cipher certified seat. So again, a hybrid model can also exist. So I think it's just about it. For me, it comes down to listening to you guys as customers, and understanding what you're ultimately trying to achieve. What's your problem? What are you trying to solve? And I think it's our job to listen to that and to recommend a way forward. And as I say, that may be a combination of different things that Cipher does to provide the right solution. Hopefully that answers your question, but happy to take anything offline, of course.
No, that's great. I think that's all we have time for now. So I think we've got a few minutes at the end. I just want to get the key takeaways from our panelists for you to take with you as you leave this webinar. So Sarah, maybe I could start with you. What would be your key takeaway for our audience today?
I think it would be kind of the fact that this particular software and solution enables you to get this dual benefit, which feels quite unusual, I think, from kind of more traditional product offering, which is obviously, firstly, the ML classification is going to massively enhance your ability to draw out strategic insights and answer complex questions about your own portfolio, but also the portfolio of any third party that you're interested in. But at the same time, it's also going to upskill your team and kind of enhance their own expertise and capabilities and give them benefits that fall outside of just the day-to-day of delivering their own work. And I think, particularly in today's environment, that's something that's really important, and it can act as a differentiator as well for our clients.
Great, thank you, Sarah. Seb, what would be your key takeaway today?
My key takeaway for today is really what Stuart mentioned earlier, is that this is not to replace other methods. If you're a team that heavily relies on Boolean, this is not for you to get rid of Boolean searching and replace it by classifier. It's another tool that will help you look at pattern results, landscapes, any reports from a different perspective, and maybe allow you to see some aspects of the data you haven't seen before. But certainly it doesn't have to change your entire workflow and how you currently work.
Great, thank you. And Stuart, finally, what would you say to everyone listening today?
I think what I can say is, I think, what we've done is we've built a platform. We've built the technology. Cipher's done that. We've proven it countless times now with numerous customers and independently tested. The technology works. And now what we've gone on to do, and hopefully you've got that feeling from today, is we've built a training program, a support environment to enable our customers, current and future, to be able to utilize that, but in the concept, in the confines of pattern analysis, essentially. And I think that's what my takeaway would be. You can get there now. It is all possible. It's not, the tech isn't confusing. It's not complicated. We just need to empower you to be able to use it yourself. So if that's if that's exciting to you, then I would really encourage you to reach out and let's have a deeper conversation on it. I think that would be my takeaway, Francesca.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that. And thank you to our three panelists today. Excuse me. Thank you to our three panelists today who've given us some great insight into why you might look to use Cipher Certified and how it works. Please do get in touch, as Stuart said. Thank you for listening today, and we look forward to speaking to you soon. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.